My name is Ryan, and this is Behind the Tape, where we uncover the most chilling crime stories that have left their mark on history. Tonight, we take you back to December 1975, when London became the battleground of one of the most intense and nerve-wracking hostage crises in British history, the Balcombe Street siege. This was not just a random crime but a calculated act of terror, orchestrated by 4 members of the Provisional Irish Republican Army, IRA. Their reign of terror, consisting of bombings and assassinations, culminated in a desperate final standoff with the police. What led them to this moment? How did it all unfold? And what was the ultimate fate of the men who held London hostage? Let's dive deep into the harrowing events of the Balcombe Street siege. The mid-1970s were a turbulent time in Britain, as the IRA waged a violent campaign of bombings and assassinations in a bid to end British rule in Northern Ireland. London, as the heart of British power, was a prime target. Throughout 1974 and 1975, the city was terrorized by explosions, restaurants, pubs, and government buildings were among the frequent targets. Among the most notorious operatives were 4 IRA members: Joe O'Connell, Edward Butler, Harry Duggan, and Hugh Doherty. Trained in guerrilla warfare, they were well versed in planting explosives, evading law enforcement, and striking fear into the heart of the city. The authorities called them the Balcombe Street Gang, a unit that had been responsible for a series of deadly bombings and shootings across London. With each attack, their confidence grew, but so did the urgency of the police to bring them down. On December 6, 1975, a call came through to the London Metropolitan Police. A shooting had taken place at the Scots restaurant in Mayfair. A witness claimed that 2 men on a motorcycle had fired shots through the window before speeding away. Little did the officers know, this was the beginning of the end for the Balcombe Street Gang. Detectives from the flying squad were already tracking the IRA operatives, but this time, the gang had made a crucial mistake. As they attempted to escape, they were spotted, triggering one of the most dramatic high-speed chases in London's history. Through the dark streets of Westminster, sirens wailed as police cars pursued the IRA fugitives. O'Connell, Butler, Duggan, and Doherty, realizing they were running out of options, abandoned their vehicle near Marylebone and sprinted towards a quiet residential area. As they ran down Balcombe Street, they saw an opportunity: an unlocked door at number 22. Without hesitation, they barged inside, taking a middle-aged couple, John and Sheila Matthews, hostage. The siege had begun. For 6 long days, London was gripped with tension. The quiet neighborhood of Marylebone had become the center of a national crisis. The Matthews, terrified and defenseless, were now bargaining chips in a deadly game. From inside the flat, the IRA members issued demands: safe passage to Ireland and a guarantee that they wouldn't be harmed. But the police, led by Scotland Yard's top negotiators, had other plans. They surrounded the building, cutting off all escape routes. Snipers took position on neighboring rooftops. Officers patrolled the streets, ensuring that no sympathizers could aid the fugitives. Meanwhile, the British government faced immense pressure. The hostage situation was unfolding under the watchful eyes of the media, with the public growing increasingly anxious. There was no room for error. Negotiators engaged in a battle of wits with the IRA members. Over the next few days, the tension in the flat was palpable. The hostages, despite their fear, showed remarkable composure. John and Sheila Matthews were ordinary citizens caught in the storm of political violence, their only hope resting in the hands of the negotiators outside. The police played a psychological game, cutting off electricity and food supplies to the flat. The gang, used to being on the offensive, now found themselves trapped with dwindling resources. Their frustration mounted. In an effort to gain leverage, the IRA members taunted the authorities, making references to previous bombings. They boasted about the Guildford and Woolwich pub bombings, where innocent civilians had lost their lives. Unbeknownst to them, this arrogance would later play a role in sealing their fate. On the 6th day of the siege, the IRA members realized they had exhausted all options. The police were unrelenting, refusing to meet their demands. Inside the flat, tempers flared. The Matthews, exhausted but resilient, clung to hope that the nightmare would soon be over. Outside, the police had devised their final strategy. They employed a tactic known as white noise to disorient the gunmen, playing loud, relentless sounds to break their concentration. Negotiators intensified their efforts, repeatedly urging the gang to surrender, emphasizing that resistance would only end in bloodshed. With no food, no escape, and the full force of the British police bearing down on them, the IRA members finally cracked. One by one, they surrendered their weapons and emerged from the flat with their hands raised. The Matthews were freed, shaken but unharmed. The siege was over. The 4 IRA operatives were arrested on the spot and taken into custody. The evidence against them was overwhelming. In addition to their involvement in the siege, they were linked to over 50 incidents of bombings and shootings across London. In 1977, they stood trial for multiple counts of murder, attempted murder, and terrorism-related offences. The courtroom was packed with reporters and the families of victims who had suffered at their hands. The gang showed little remorse as the verdict was read out: life imprisonment. The prison chosen to house these high-profile terrorists was HMP Whitemoor, one of the most secure facilities in England. Even behind bars, the IRA members continued to express loyalty to their cause. However, their capture marked a significant victory for British authorities in their fight against IRA terrorism. The Balcombe Street siege was more than just a hostage crisis, it was a defining moment in the history of law enforcement and counter-terrorism in the UK. It exposed the brutal realities of IRA operations while highlighting the resilience of ordinary citizens like John and Sheila Matthews, who endured 6 days of terror. For Scotland Yard, it was a testament to the power of strategic negotiation and psychological warfare. The peaceful resolution of the siege, without a single shot being fired by the police, was considered a triumph. Yet, the scars of the IRA's reign of terror remain. The victims of their bombings, the families who lost loved ones, and the survivors of their attacks continue to carry the weight of those dark days. The Balcombe Street siege serves as a haunting reminder of the dangers of extremism. It showcases the courage of those who stood against terror and the relentless pursuit of justice by law enforcement. As we close this chapter, let's not forget the innocent lives lost in this violent period of history. If you found this story compelling, make sure to subscribe to Behind the Tape for more gripping crime investigations. Leave your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about the resolution of this siege? Should justice have been served differently? Let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay safe and stay vigilant.